Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, today we're bringing you another side-by-side camera comparison between the iPhone 5S and the Galaxy S4. So this will strictly be on the cameras, just deciding which one has the better camera overall from lots of different photos we've taken, and we shall analyze them and see which one is better, and also which camera interface is better and what can do more. So let's go and see which one is the best camera. Now, when it comes to a camera interface, both were a welcome change from what we had from last year. Both the cameras interfaces were improved dramatically, and both added new features. So with the iPhone 5S, we had finally added filters, which is just really nice, and they're live filters, just like the S series has done for a while on the Galaxy. It's just nice to have. You also have the photo feature, which is just basically a pre-cropped photo for your Instagramming needs. It's a 1:1 photo. And you also have the panorama shot, which you can swipe to actually take a panorama shot. Up at the top here, you also have the flash, HDR on or off mode, good for low light, and of course the front face camera. Over here on the left, we then have the video, which is 1080p video at 30 frames per second. And then we have the slow motion video, which is 720p at 120 frames per second. So this is the interface for the iPhone 5S. When it comes to the S4, we have a bit of a different style interface. We do also have the live filters again at the bottom right here, which have live preview. You also have a really nice feature that I think is unrecognized too often, and that is the photo and video taking features being both on the screen and being both able to tap. You don't have to waste a second swiping anymore between them. It's just really a nice feature when you're trying to take a quick photo or a quick video. You also have a big mode button over here for all of your S4 modes, such as beauty face, which gets rid of acne, wrinkles, blemishes. You have best faces, which is good for group photos. Everyone can pick out their best face, so you don't have to take multiple photos. You have drama, animated photo. You do also have HDR on here, although they have a better solution for HDR, which I'll go over later, because iPhone does better HDR overall. And you have panorama shot as well, and a bunch of others. Over here at the top, you also have the dual shot mode, so you can see photo while taking a photo. Hey guys, very easily. And over here at the top, you have three important features. One is first going to be your video modes. So on your video modes, you have limit to text message, slow motion, the same 720p at 120 frames per second. And then you also have fast motion. The nice thing about the slow motion, the fast motion, you can control how slow or fast it is, just to make it more interesting. Now, another thing you have is voice command. So you can actually take a photo using your voice with the S4, saying any of these to take a photo or video. And finally, we have the auto night detection mode, which allows you to simply take the best low light photo you can get without using a flash. This is better than HDR for a Samsung because they don't do HDR well. So those are the two camera interfaces. Now let's take a look at our actual photos that we can take with the camera. Now when it comes to the photos both can take, we went through a couple of different styles and a couple of different scenarios. So first, just a photo without a person, but just of objects with a flash in low light. So with the flash in low light, we tend to see a bit better clarity on the S4, however, much better color reproduction with the 5S. The purple is much more pronounced on here than it is on here. However, again, the clarity is just a bit clearer on the S4 compared to the 5S. Now, without flash, this is a lot easier to determine, simply because the HDR mode just can't compare when you really have very little light to the low light mode that the S4 has. And it's definitely just more noticeable in the clarity and the detail that you get on the S4, especially in areas that have minimal lighting. You can definitely see a difference on here with just more detail. Overall, both aren't anything to write home about, but they're pretty good for just standard low light without photo. Now again, we kind of see an interesting scenario when it comes to low light. Both are just on their automatic, or no, sorry. This one has its low light mode on, and this one is just regular auto. So to be more fair, we're going to switch this one to the auto night, to the HDR mode, where I would say the iPhone 5S does a much better job of just managing not only the light but the clarity compared to these two. So in this one, the 5S does a better job compared to the S4. And in terms of the light, again, I'm just going to kind of skip over the regular one and go straight to the HDR one, because that is iPhone's better one and compared to the low light. Now, when comparing these two, this is a little bit trickier. Neither one is, I would say, outstanding. Both are average, I would say, at best. In terms of the detail on this wall, though, you can tell a little bit better on this device and this device, especially even in the tree. Just certain aspects are a bit sharper, but by very minimal, so I wouldn't say this is a win for either device. Now, in terms of macro with very high in light and indoors, let's zoom in and let's see what we have. So on both devices, we kind of get around the same. I'm looking at the numbers around the clock, also the 280. We'll try to zoom out the same amount. I'm trying to be fair, because even though this looks like it's more zoomed in, this has a lot lower pixels count, so this one's actually being a bigger image at this moment. Overall, though, both kind of were similar in this aspect. Neither kind of stood out, neither was that much clearer than the other, so it's a very minimal difference. However, in outside macro, the iPhone 5S did a bit better on the macro side compared to the S4, and the reason I've given this before is it tends to focus more on what's in front than what's on the background, whereas the S4 kind of equally gives clarity to what's on the background as well as to what's on the front, which most people, when they do macro, they just want the front, of course. Now, again, when we get to this area, we just find a bit better color reproduction on the iPhone 5S, whereas again, the detail just lies a little bit sharper with the S4. Again, this is just mainly because the bigger megapixels, and that's what's really getting more detail. Now, during the day, again, I would just say the S4 handles low light areas without flash a bit better. You can just see a bit better clarity in the signs with the S4, and just a bit better managing lighting and clarity, even in the bricks, more depth, whereas here it's kind of flat. So overall, the better quality will go to the S4 for low light photos without flash. And again, you see here, these are pretty much the same time of day, although it kind of looks like the S4 is earlier during the day and this is more during the sunset. These are actually both during the sunset. It's just really that it handles it better on the S4. And if we go across the street, You'll notice a bit more clarity on the mobile sign. Let me zoom in. On the mobile sign on the S4, as well as just these signs over here for the parking. It just stands out a bit better on the S4 versus the 5S. So again, for overall detail, and again, when you have a sunset or a sunrise setting, the S4 will simply do a better job. Now another macro indoor one, which was meant to be basically trying to focus on two things and seeing which one turned out better. Oops. We have a difference in color reproduction. This time it seemed that the iPhone kind of washed out the photo, whereas this one kept it more true to what it was. Again, in detail, the dragon especially is where you can see the S4 is a lot sharper and clearer compared to the iPhone 5S. And right here, in terms of the color reproduction, the color is pretty much in the middle between those two, so neither one got it completely right on here, and clarity is pretty much on par with both. Okay, so for this one, did a couple of shots, a couple of different shots. So first one with the flash, and then I'll go over the next ones. So this one was with the flash on both. And overall, neither one is exactly my skin tone. I'm basically in between these two. The Note 3 did a much better job with skin tone. It was actually the best when it came to skin tone. However, the clarity is going to be better on the S4 versus the 5S. You can just see in the text there, it's just not as accurate. It's just a little fuzzy. Whereas here it's a lot clearer. This is the reason why I wore a shirt with text on it, just so you can see the difference in the detail. Now, when we swipe over, these next ones are photos without any kind of flash. So this was on automatic, just so you can see of how dark this area actually is. And the only light that I had available to me was this. So in the entire room, this is on the opposite side of the room, and this was how much light I had let through, which gives you an automatic photo like this. So obviously this is a lot different from this, and that's what we're trying to test out. So this is HDR mode on the iPhone 5S, and this is HDR mode on the S4. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again, iPhones do a much better job with HDR as a photography standpoint. It's just going to do a better job. The S4 just doesn't do as good of a job with it. The color tone is pretty much there, but just the clarity, there's just so much noise. However, there is a saving grace, and that is the low light mode of the S4. And with the low light mode, you get a much sharper image in comparison to it, and just a bit more detail than the 5S gives you, even on like the shaving part and everything like that. It just gives you more detail. Now, this one wasn't as light as this, but also doesn't have as much noise. So depending on your photography standpoint, you would choose less noise with a brighter image, but it depends on what you really want. So yes, if you have any questions on the camera, feel free to ask, but overall, I would say that the S4 does a better job in low light without flash, and definitely with skin tones overall, whereas the 5S does a really good job with macro, especially outdoor macro more so, and of objects with the flash. In those peak times with sunsets and sunrises, the S4 would be better, but overall they're very comparable and both are very good cameras. If I had to go with one, I take pictures of people most of the time, and the fact that this one did do better with skin tone, even though iPhone said that was one of their main things, kind of makes me lean towards the S4, and that I'm happy with it, and I have been happy with it as I've taken most of my photos. So if you have any questions on these two devices, feel free to ask, and let me know which one is your favorite camera or which one you thought won overall. Thank you for watching. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.